Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Rand Dunigan. And I just want to say something. I mean, I haven't read it, but you just got that new Neil Adams book, Batman Odyssey. Mm-hmm. Just from the cover alone, I want to get that fucking book because it looks like a 1970s metal album. It's Batman riding on a pterodactyl.
Oh, really what it looks like? It looks like if Batman was in like a heavy metal magazine.
That's what it kind of looks like. I was just like, what the fuck? You know, I've never seen Batman riding in on a pterodactyl looking all pissed off before.
Now, have you ever read any of those Batman Judge Dredd like issues?
No, I haven't.
Like, cause like the artwork in those ones, or not all of them, but like a handful of them, they have like that kind of like heavy metal style where it almost looks like you're looking at real paintings or something like that. So you got whoever, because it must have been the 90s, you know, heavy metal was popular, you know. So everybody was drawing like that, or at least when they got to like those really kind of like adult ones.
Yeah.
And it has those kind of like very like dark, but they look, I don't know how you describe it. They look like they're kind of like almost real.
But sort of, is it kind of like Arkham Asylum? A little bit like that? I guess that
No,
one's a little
Arkham
bit more...
Asylum's not real, because that one's got very like,
I guess the more
that one's very like sketchy and kind of like a lot of lines, dark. No, sort of like another one reminds me of is I'm drawing a blank on what it's
I know what you're. I don't remember
it's
the guy's
same time
name.
period, but
I know what you mean because I got like I have this book called
Kingdom
Venom.
Come, like that kind of like
Yeah,
you know,
like Kingdom Come.
What's his name? Well, fuck.
I know his name. It's on
Alex Ross.
Alex Ross. There we go.
Like that was another. It seems just like there's a time period, and I don't know if it was due to the fact that like computers kind of came out too, so they kind of just helped out the workflow, and you could try out all these new things. A very experimental time.
When I first got into comics, one of the first ones I got was actually it wasn't that guy. This guy's apparently kind of big, and I think he actually because you and me we're both heading to the Sacramento Comic Book Convention tomorrow.
Yeah, and this podcast will be up before we even go to it, which right now is day one of it, I guess. Fuck day one, I'm not paying for 4 hours, unless I got that 3-day pass, but that was already gone.
Yeah, I know, we just kind of, well, I think middle day is probably the best day to go anyway. So.
Yeah, I think so.
But I think this guy might be, I remember his name, but I want to say someone said this dude might be there. One of the first books I got when I first started reading comics was a book called Venom versus Carnage.
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
And you read that?
I never read it, but I know that one.
Yeah, and it pretty much, the first issue, it's just Venom and Carnage fighting each other, but then it just quickly becomes about, like, them teaming up because they create, like, a new, like, symbiote named Toxin.
So they have a gay, like, love child.
They don't have a gay love child, because I guess, like, Carnage wants that, I think Venom wants to have one. Venom wants that, he doesn't know.
I want a gay love child.
He talks like Christian Bale for some reason. No, he has to, like... I think, is it Carnage or Venom? No, Carnage wants to, because I guess Carnage is the spawn of Venom. So, Carnage wants to make his own kid, and then Venom wants to stop it, saying, no, we don't want too many symbiotes, like, fighting around here. So then he, like, makes his mark, by creating his own kid, he just has to make a mark or something on, like, on somebody, and he chooses this cop, so... And this cop quickly becomes a symbiote named Toxin, and then he I don't really remember it that well, but it was kind of like similar artwork, and pretty much the last book it's more about Toxin, about Venom and Carnage working together, not fighting, working together, so it's a little bit of false advertisement, but yeah. And of course Spider-Man and Black Cat come into it, so. And it had that very realistic artwork, like computers.
You don't see it very often anymore.
In all honesty, I mean, it's cool to see once in a while, but I don't.
If there was too much of it, I don't know, because it almost kind of like the only I guess you could say if there's a downfall to that style. I mean, I think it works for Alex Ross, and for some of the other ones. But the only thing is, it sort of always just looks like you almost took a photograph and you just kind of photoshopped it up just a tad bit and then kind of placed it in there.
That's how I feel about certain I'm sure you could find it in DC books, but I've seen it in more Marvel books, like. Sometimes when I flipped, because there's a couple times I was considering getting some Punisher, and I flipped through it, and it was like that very like realistic. It looks like almost like you just took a photograph and you put some kind of like cell shaded layer filter of some sort. Same thing with like it did that for a little bit in New Avengers. It did that like in Luke Cage and Iron Fist for a little while. So it was one of those things. I said Luke Cage, right?
Yeah.
I sometimes say Nick Cage. I just want to double check.
The Nick Cage comic book.
Yeah. So. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan. I mean, every once in a while it's kind of interesting, and even that really weird artsy sketch. Did you ever borrow like volume? I think it was volume 2. Had to be volume 3 of Daredevil by I think Brian Michael Bendis maybe jumped on by this point. It was
Now,
after. It was
now,
after.
is this
Kevin
the
Smith.
Daredevil, the Ultimate Daredevil, or the Kevin Smith Daredevil? Right?
Ultimate Daredevil, I thought was bullshit, but it started off cool, but then it just leads in like, oh,
Well,
this
doesn't
is-
Daredevil just get like smashed in one panel and like ultimatum?
Yeah, I mean, let's.
I can't remember what happens. All I remember is like
he drowned. Or
yeah,
something.
he drowns or so. He's like in a fucking bathtub or something.
No, he's not in the bathtub. He's just like he's in the street or something.
Oh, you know, it's even worse. He's like fucking in like a gutter or something like that.
Like Peter comes across him, and then like Hulk's like, yeah, that guy was my lawyer. Now I'm pissed off. I'm gonna Hulk out and fight this demon thing that killed Strange. But
After that, I was like, what the fuck? I think that comic book was kind of written like, dude, we're gonna so piss people off.
I think that here's what happened because I mean I like. Well, first let me say.
Sometimes I don't know what it is, but like when you read some Marvel comics, I don't know if there's just it just feels like there's this kind of like 15-year-old kid that's in there like fucking in charge. He's like in a business suit. He's like in RoboCop 2, and he
that
fucking
kid.
just like makes fucking decisions for him. Like he's like, you know what? Fuck Daredevil.
He holds up a vial of nuke to like Jeff Loeb. He says, "You're gonna write what I say." Oh, okay, like 15-year-old kid. Okay, I'll write whatever you want. Like, I want everybody in this comic to fucking die. I want the fans to get pissed off. I just need a hit. No, you fuck. He's like,
Well, you know what? Because Marvel fans are fucking faggots. And he's like, well, why are you running this company? Because I'm 15. I can do whatever I want. And I hate comics.
I'm surprised the power that kid had over a full-grown woman in that
He
movie.
did, yeah. And
You
a
think
lot
that
of other people, too. People were like, yeah.
You think that shit could have said like, "Fuck you," punch that kid, and take the whole thing and nuke and left? But whatever. Okay,
Yeah,
that
it's
kid
not
was
like that kid's Damien or something like that.
Yeah, I know. You gotta.
Because if Damien was kind of there, you can't do anything. You're like, fuck.
Well, you gotta give that kid credit. I mean, the kid can be kind of annoying, but you gotta give him credit for like running
He's running his own business.
running his empire at like not even 15, like
he's
10.
Like, yeah, 10.
But Ultimatum was one of those books where it's like, because people I liked were involved with that, but it was one of those things. Like, I think that this is what their intent was, but then I'll say what I think happened. I think their intent was to give you this chaotic feeling of like, well, all this shit's going on at the same time. What the fuck do I do? Where do I go? Because every page, somebody was dying off very quickly and very brutally, and just moved on so quickly. And I think it was meant to give you this sense of kind of like urgency
Like,
and
oh,
fear and what the fuck are we doing?
All our heroes are going away.
What are we gonna do? Yeah, but it ultimately just felt kind of like, oh, you like this character? Fuck you, he's dead. Like this character? Fuck you, he's dead too. Because a lot of them, I mean, Wolverine died doing something, but a lot of them just died like Cyclops was like sniped like while giving a speech after he survived all that shit. He was killed, but with a snipe.
Well, it's kind of and they die all these. I guess like they probably want to go. If they die really quickly, it's almost like it's realistic. Life's like that.
Yeah, and like
You know.
Wasp got like eaten alive by Blob. And like you had
I feel like I don't know how the fuck that happens. Wasp can move really fast. Blob is big and fat.
yeah, I don't know how that happened. Then Angel, like he just like flew in after Sabretooth. Sabretooth jumped down, broke his wings, and like kicked his neck in, like killing him. You know,
That's what I was like. If it was this easy to do this, they would have done this in the '60s.
that yeah.
Everybody would have been over with by this point.
I think that's one of the things. Like, all right, well, thank God it's a pocket universe. You know. So and then like Daredevil, I'm not maybe
Well,
maybe
they
they showed how he died in like one of the other books, but in Ultimatum and Spider-Man, he was just floating there, dead.
Yeah.
You know. So
There's a hobo fucking him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that was no. What was I gonna say though before the? Well, no, but I was gonna say Daredevil though. Volume 3 of like it was Kevin Smith, I think someone else, and then Brian Michael Bendis jumped in. In Volume 3, it had this thing. It was all from like Ben Urich's perspective.
Uh-huh.
Daredevil was barely in. It was all in his perspective, and he was interviewing a kid who was like the son of Leapfrog or something, and trying to get his perspective and trying to figure out like this case. And it was this really weird, bizarre, abstract style. Some of it looked like you took a picture and threw a layer over it, like a filter of some sort over it. Other parts of it looked like so scratchy and so like weird. You know, it was just one of those things.
I got something very artistic to draw it.
And it looked interesting in parts, but it was one of those things for like one volume. I think that's fine. But if that's like what the whole series is, though,
Well, it's
that's
kind of like
not
what's the key thing always in comic books. It's the storytelling. So
And
you
that-
can't let the art get in the way of that.
It was from Ben Urich's perspective, so I get that. It's Ben Urich and this kid,
Yeah.
who witnessed Daredevil. So it's from his perspective, so I could see maybe where that's coming from. But it's if that's one of those books though, that's like I think that would like if a newcomer came across the book, like nah, I ain't giving this a chance. This looks too fucking weird, you know?
Yeah, they'd be ruled out instantly.
Yeah.
We sort of got a correction from last episode. Somebody told us that Silver Monkey is in the comics. And
Really?
I looked
I
it
didn't
up.
see him.
I looked up on the book and stuff, and it's like, well, yeah, he's in it too. But he's not really like a Batman. He came to Gotham or so. Well, when you read the encyclopedia, it's kind of like, he came to Gotham once.
Oh, okay.
He might have came multiple times, but he kind of comes from...
Wikipedia fucking lied to me.
Oh,
I guess Wikipedia can't get enough.
I pulled up the Batman encyclopedia.
Oh, all right.
That one's mostly pretty helpful.
Well, no, they had like I know there are some characters like they get some really obscure characters like Match or whatever his name was, or there's the fire guy. He's actually in. I believe he's in. I think he's in Batman and Robin Volume 3 with Grant Morrison. Mm-hmm. I think he's in that, but he's like just one of the people that's just there in the background. I think he throws like one fireball and gets knocked out.
That's it.
I might get a correction on that too, but.
Yeah, well, I noticed a lot of those characters too because I was just kind of looking up some of them. It's like a lot of them actually aren't really Batman characters. Like, you know, obviously at some point in time they cross Gotham.
Yeah,
but a lot of them.
Magpie's not.
Yeah,
but she's
no,
just a
Magpie
general.
is.
She's like, well, she's kind of like Batman and Superman because everything I looked up on her, she was always bouncing between Superman and Batman.
Well, yeah, because she started off in Metropolis first, and then she decided it would be easier if I went to Gotham. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I read on hers too, and it was like, oh, there's a lot more. Because a lot of these characters, like, if I've seen them, it's like I've only seen them like in like 1 or 2 books, not very many, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes Beware of the Batman really cool, though, is you get all these obscure characters.
I was in Modesto the other day, and I came across like I came across the Young Justice DVDs, and I almost bought them, but then I looked at them. It didn't say how many episodes were on it, and I was doing it. I was looking at them, and I saw one of them in the very far corner in small print said where the episodes were. It's like episodes like 4 through 6 or something.
Oh, like,
it was
they're
like
doing those like when I remember they did that like 10 years ago in a lot of season sets.
I was like maybe
it's really kind of equivalent to like when you used to buy them on VHS and they give you 2 episodes per VHS.
It's like this is $10 by itself, but where the Batman was
13 with 13 episodes.
Yeah. Go fuck yourselves. So I'm gonna wait till they come out with like a full set of some sort.
Well, a lot of times too, they come out later on Blu-ray and you just get the full collection, like the Wolverine, and the X-Men. Like there's just a big fat set of it.
I think since the show got canceled, they're trying to milk as much money as they can before they actually bring out like the the complete set edition or whatever.
Yeah, well, it probably, and I know like the new thing kind of to do, which that actually doesn't really bother me that much. At first, I was kind of like, oh, you cheap fucks. It was when they kind of split seasons in half.
Well, it wasn't even like season 1, season 2. It was like part 1, season 1, part 2, season 1, part 3.
Yeah, that's
one. That's like
that's what they used to do with a lot of other shows before. Is like, and when I say like the VHSs, because when you went to go buy a cartoon on VHS, they'd give you 2 episodes. It was always 2 episodes. That was it. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, I'm like, you could put so many more episodes than 2 on VHS. It's like there's 3-hour-long movies on a VHS. They're not even like 2-part. Like,
especially if it was an anime, it would be even more expensive. Well, the dubbing process is pretty expensive and takes a while, and where else are you gonna fucking get
where are you gonna go?
Well,
I finally beat Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2.
What'd you think of that?
I actually liked it a lot. And I know that it's one of the many games that, like, nowadays, critics just kind of give bad reviews to everything just about.
Was that one of them?
It got a 7 out of 10 in the Game Informer and a couple others. I didn't even read it because I was like, blasphemy! I'm not going to read what you give. And then
good day to you, son! Good day! I'm done!
And it's like, I haven't thought about it. I'm like, you know what? I seem to, like, in the last, like, year or so, it's like, I seem to like all the games that critics just seem to not like as much.
All the Suda51 games?
Yeah, I know. It's like, a lot of the games that I get, it's like, I was thinking, like, not like, because really actually like a 7 out of 10 actually isn't, it's not saying that the game's bad. That's like, I remember like, I think it was GamePro, or no, maybe it was Game Informer, but at one point they wrote a fucking article going like, okay people, really quickly, just because a game doesn't get like a 9 or a 10, that doesn't mean it's a bad game. Like they had to explain this, like we need to sit you down.
I liked GamePro. I didn't feel like they talked down.
No, not GamePro, Game Informer.
Oh, Game Informer. Oh, okay.
No, GamePro was that was my favorite magazine.
Well, I think sometimes not all times. I think sometimes Game Informer seems a little up their own ass and sometimes.
Well, I think it's one of those ones. I think too. It's like, especially the farther they've gone on, it's just kind of like, well, we're the only successful magazine left. Come on.
Because they're sitting on GameStop's dick. So.
Yeah, I know. So it's like, yeah, they kind of get that attitude going. But I was thinking, I'm like, you know what? The games that I really liked that kind of came in the last while, they got somewhere between like 6 and 7s, or so. I was like, I really like Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2. I really liked Resident Evil 6. I really liked the GoldenEye for the Wii. I liked, Suda51's Killer is Dead. And it's just like, I don't know. And Castlevania, like, it's one of those ones when playing it, it starts off kind of weird, because the first one kind of had it was like all level based of the Lords of Shadow trilogy. Yeah, it pretty much is a trilogy. Even though there's 1, 2, but there's a center one with the 3DS one.
Oh, okay.
So the first one kind of had like levels, like there's probably 20 levels or so, give or take. And then, you know, once you got more power-ups, you can go back and, you know, like, oh, I can double jump into this, or I got the whip that can get me up there, or so on. Mm-hmm. Where this one kind of has that sort of like, not like a sandbox world, but it is a little bit more like you can kind of run around a small section.
Okay, I have no idea.
You know, it's not like there's like necessarily missions, it's just you kind of run to each area, and then you keep winding back and through and going back and forth.
Alrighty.
And the other two, it starts off because, like, Lord of Shadow 1... At first, when I first played that game, I was like, oh, it's a super prequel. That's what it is. It's before even Dracula's around. We're not even battling Dracula. It's even before Lament of Innocence and all that stuff. And then you kind of realize, like, when the main character, Gabriel Belmont, battles the Lords of Shadow, it becomes the Darkness himself, so he becomes Dracula. Mm-hmm. And then it goes on for the longer story. It's like, he battles all his, relatives, I guess you could say, because they kind of change, they kind of intertwine it more, where they say, like, well, he was a Belmont, and now he's Dracula, and his son, who was born before he could see his dad, ends up fighting him, so they're the Belmont clan fighting Dracula. Mm-hmm. This kind of linked-in thing. But whatever, the whole point is, after a while, Dracula kind of gives it up, or whatever, and he sits in his castle for 500 years.
Is he just sitting there, just like on his iPhone or something, or what's?
No, he doesn't have an iPhone. He's just sitting in this castle.
I thought this was in the future or something.
It's not in the future. It's like in present day.
Oh, okay.
And he fucking just one day, just like, he decides he's gonna come out of retirement. And it's supposed to be just kind of sits. I'm like, and it's like the way they kind of show it's like, did he just sit in that chair for 500 years? And like the city around him just built up, and nobody questioned what, like, don't fucking go in that castle. Don't you know what used to go on in there? We'll just build a city around it. We just won't worry about the castle.
We could send a real estate company over there and possibly give an eviction notice, or just check out claims and whatnot. But why don't we just make it easier on all of us and just build around it? He hasn't done nothing in 500
the castle's
years.
Bought and paid for, so I mean we can't really do anything. It's not like he's got a mortgage or
family owned or whatever, So we'll just build around it, and whatever happens, happens. I'm sure we'll be fine. We don't gotta worry.
So what happens is, like, Patrick Stewart comes by and he's like...
Patrick Stewart, just wheel at all.
No, he's not a wheelchair. He's got a beard.
He's always in a wheelchair to me. I don't care.
Yeah. Well,
a lot of people think Picard. I still think
Xavier.
Yeah, same here.
And he shows up and he's like, yo, Satan's coming back. Since you haven't been doing anything for a while, he decided to come and take over. And so he says it like, oh, I'm Picard. Satan's coming back and he's coming to take over. And he's just like, so the whole thing is like, this is what you gotta do. I'll fucking kill you. Because you clearly want to die. You've been sitting here for 500 years. But you gotta kill Satan for me. Sound good? Which really is like, you're like, oh, okay, sure. I guess that's what the game is.
Even like Dracula's kind of like, well, it's not the best deal, but it's better than nothing. So
but
sure.
I'm sick and tired of sitting.
He says it's
dying
nonchalant.
Sounds good.
He says his nonchalant attitude about the whole time, like, yeah, why not? I guess he has no real motivation.
No, it's just those ones like, so he goes along with it. It's like sounds good, but really the game though, it's like if you like the Lords of Shadow 1, and that game got really good reviews, I don't see how you couldn't like this one.
For someone who's never played a Castlevania game, what is this play like? A hack and slash, like with the Castlevania tropes of like going around getting items?
I guess there's about 3 different ways Castlevania games sort of are. There's the classic style, which is kind of like what all the regular Nintendo and Genesis and Super Nintendo ones are, where it's pretty much it's a platformer game. And you don't level up, you don't get any power-ups necessarily other than, like, your cross and your axe and stuff. And you just go through the levels, all 6 levels, beat the boss, and that's it. That's kind of the old style.
Yeah.
Then when Symphony of the Night came out, then they kind of had the Metroidvania thing, where, you go back and forth between different areas, and you get leveled up, and the more items you get, the more areas you can go, and so on. And then there's kind of like the 3D ones that started really with the N64 ones, where you don't necessarily, like, level up as much, but you do get power-ups throughout the way that make you stronger, and you get, bigger health bars and things like that.
Well, another example
that's what this one kind of is.
In a different wrapping, would you say it could be kind of like Arkham Asylum, something like that?
It's like Arkham Asylum. It plays like an Arkham Asylum, sort of like a Ninja Gaiden, but with more adventure in it.
Okay.
It's kind of like a mix of like, I guess, Arkham Asylum is probably the best way to describe it, because Arkham Asylum's most games is like, it's an adventure game, but when there's action, then it gets they become more of an action game, sort of.
Yeah.
I guess you could say. That's sort of like, Ninja Gaiden just all in action. You know what I mean? There's not really adventure in it. You're just always fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and where Castlevania, you could be going crossing, bridges, jumping up the side of cliffs, exploring areas, sort of like a Prince of Persia game, doing puzzles and stuff like that, and then you go into action.
Mm-hmm. I just imagine Dracula just throwing a baseball against the wall for like 500 years, like Steve McQueen or some shit.
But yeah, but then like what happens is kind of has like this split story going on. You're in the modern world trying to kill Dracula, and then you also kind of have these like sort of, I guess they're flashbacks more than anything else and stuff, and it's in like his mind.
When you go to the modern world, are you like still like in crypts and dungeons and stuff, or are you like out in the out like in modern day streets and kind of like ghettos and whatnot like that?
You're out like sort of in the streets, so there's not like really people going on there, and then there's kind of all like Dracula's kind of, or not Dracula, Satan's minions are out there and stuff, and like I mean. The town kind of has, like, it's in Europe, so it's obviously, it looks like an older town still. Like, there might be a couple cars, it's not like they're driving, but they're parked on the side of the road.
It seems most Japanese horror games, if you're in a city, it usually has Europe inspiration to it. Not all the time, but a lot of the time.
Yeah, well, strange enough, this game is not made by Japanese people, it's made by, like, Europeans.
Oh, okay, well, that explains that then.
So, yeah, which, now, all the other Castlevanias are all Japanese. I don't know if Lords of Shadow 1 is.
I guess the general exception, except for games that take place in Europe, is probably, Resident Evil. Most Japanese horror games I think of, well, I guess a lot of them do take place in America, but a lot of them seem to take place like in Europe. Like a lot of Devil May Cry games look like they have a European like inspiration to them. You know what I mean?
You know, because they're castles and
castles
like
and all that. Yeah.
But I guess where I was going at, it's one of those ones. So you have this modern day thing, and I mean the only thing really is like every once in a while they'll be like, oh, there's like a demon that has a shotgun or a machine gun, like it's like whatever, and then you go back to like Dracula's castle and pretty much in the past, probably like 600 years ago or something like that, and there you're battling. There's all these kind of like holy knights and stuff that are kind of battling, so you get that kind of where they're sort of like robots and stuff like that, but they're built out of magic. I don't know how you describe that. They're not necessarily like robots, but they're kind of like it's a giant like steel machine or whatever, iron machine.
I've been playing a lot of like Devil May Cry lately, so I was thinking like the angel suits of armor robot things you fight in number 4.
Yeah, things like that and stuff, and that sort of things you battle back then, and then obviously just regular things like skeletons and demons. And
something like a skeleton with a laser gun or something like that at some point.
There is, not in this one, but there is in like something at night. Well, there's like a Nova like skeleton. I guess he's just a giant laser himself.
Okay.
Because it's like that's in the 1700s. But really, it's like one of those games like there's only one part in it that's kind of I thought was kind of like dumb. But the rest of the game is all really good. And there's a couple. They put some of these sneaking type missions in there. Sneaking missions are mostly always like the worst. And the first handful of them, they're really one of those ones like it's not that big a deal. You distract one guard and you cross. It's like okay, that's easy. It's not a pain in the ass. There's one part where you gotta battle this, sort of like a Minotaur, but it's not necessarily a Minotaur. And there's a part where, like, you gotta sneak across and there's leaves on the ground. You can't, if you walk across the leaves, he goes like, and runs towards you. And it's not, the first time it's like, that's kind of scary. After a while, you're like, fuck! And then, you gotta sneak all this way, go across this whole field, go flip a fucking switch, and then ride this elevator up. And after a while, I just figured out, just like, fuck, I'll just turn to miss, go across, wait. If he comes near me, turn to miss, just go through him and just keep going and take my sweet time. But this is the one thing I hate about like games when they put the sneaking aspect in there. It's like, oh, this guy, he just keeps raping you every single time. You get up to the fucking top and you go to battle and you just whoop this guy's ass and then you're fucking riding him down like fucking beating the shit out of him back into the ground. And it's just like, I hate that in video games. It's one of those ones like, it's like no fucking way. I would have been able to whip this guy's ass on the ground. Why do I have to go up the fucking elevator?
No, I get you. That annoys me too whenever you do that.
The one thing I always get, like, Metal Gear Solid's always been a stealth game, but what I always like about Metal Gear Solid,
it's made for it, though.
No, not that. It's the fact that, like, when somebody sees you, they don't go, like, mission restart.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? Like, I can't stand that fucking, like, mission restart. You were spotted. Like, in Metal Gear Solid, you get a chance to at least fight. I'd rather get my ass whooped. And, like, you just go, okay, at least I got killed. Like, they may have killed me in, like, 3 hits, but at least I died. Then be just, like, the second they see you, it's it. That's over.
Yeah, I hate that, too.
I remember that was one of the things about the first 2 Splinter Cell games. I was like, fuck those games. Like, I was like, I hate that thing. That's one of the worst things ever. Especially because those games, too, you could be playing a mission for, like, 20 minutes, and all of a sudden you get spotted, and it's just like, oh, restart!
Yeah.
This is before, like, checkpoints and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then the third one came out, and they fixed all those problems. They're like, fuck it. You want to kill people? Be my guest. I think that was the other thing, too, in Splinter Cell. No, this is what it was in Splinter Cell 2. I think you couldn't kill people either in the first 2 ones. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, you had to, like, knock them out. It's like, fuck that. It's a video game. If I want to kill somebody, I kill them.
It's my God-given right.
Yeah, and it's like, even in video games too, it's like Batman. It's like, we know we're not killing people, but like, as long as they're gonna knock people out, and they know they're not coming back up anytime soon, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
But really, this Castlevania game is like, I don't know.
Beyond that,
if you like Castlevania, you're obviously gonna like this one. You know, I guess it's one of those games. It's not breaking any new grounds. You know, it's kind of like the more of the same, which is never a bad thing.
Was this a 6 or a 7? This game, did it get a 6 or 7?
Got 7.
7. Okay.
Which a 7, you know, like, once again, that really doesn't mean that it's bad. You know. I think it's one of those ones, like, I do feel like that's kind of a low rate. I can see it maybe getting like an 8. Because obviously, I mean, if you're a Castlevania fan, you kind of always, if you're a fan of any game, you add 1 point to it.
It was harder doing that for Sonic the Hedgehog after a while. I really had to be like,
well, sometimes that's like, you know, you add.
You have to be honest.
It's 5 and you add points, so it's a 6, you know.
Mm-hmm. Even after a while, like, no, they're right. They're right in this case. I haven't played the last few, but yeah.
But, you know, it's one of those ones, like, I mean, the game plays fine. I had a good time. The story's interesting. And it's really just, it's not that much different than Lords of Shadow 1, so it's like, the Lords of Shadow 1 definitely probably the better game, but that goes hand in hand with being the first one.
Yeah.
You know, even though in video game worlds, a lot of times, the ones that come after can also be better. Mm-hmm. But, I guess probably like an Arkham Origins, where it's like, it's probably almost just as good, but it's not breaking as much new ground as the first two did.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just so surprising now. It's just so many games nowadays that just, I feel like they get pandered by like a critic just by getting knocked down a couple ratings, and people just go like, oh, must not be good.
I think some critics, they want innovation with every game. Not all critics can not all critics can always see like, all right, it's not anything new, but it's fun, it's solid, it works.
Well, I think sometimes too they get that jaded feel.
And I think that's also the same thing with certain film critics. I think certain film critics like, well, this isn't. I mean, yeah, it was fun, it was entertaining, but it didn't break any new ground, so it's not that good. I think that's a problem with a lot of criticism.
Well, I think too is like they don't think about, in a sense, when they review things, they don't think about the people that buy them. They just kind of think about themselves. I think that's like lots of times it. And they kind of do this thing where it's just like, well, to me it wasn't good, so fuck this game, you know? Mm-hmm. Where like, they don't kind of go like, well, you know, people are going to enjoy this. Like, I think they kind of forget, like, take in mind that not everybody, you know, because I know a critic, they have to see a lot of shitty movies. Because they have to see everything. Yeah. So once you see a bunch of crappy movies, when a movie comes by that's maybe not amazing, but it's just kind of in between, you just kind of put it in the same category as a shitty movie. It's like, well, it still wasn't that good, you know? And I think that happens with video games, too. It's like, you know, you start playing all these games, and you have to go through all, like, the kiddie games and whatnot like that, and the games that aren't made nearly as well. Yeah. So then when you see other games, too, it's like, well, fuck this game, you know? It's like, it wasn't that good. And I think that's kind of happens. They kind of forget to kind of go, well, here's the thing. Your average audience that's reading this stuff, they're not playing every game. Yeah. They're mostly sticking to the higher-up ones, you know? But who knows? Yeah.
Well, did you play the new Devil May? I got the new Devil May Cry a little bit ago.
Devil May Cry 5.
Yeah. Did you play that at all?
Yeah, I started playing that one.
What do you think of that so far?
That one's pretty good. Even though after playing Lords of Shadow, because Lords of Shadow plays a little bit smoother than those games.
Oh, okay.
Because Devil May Cry, it kind of plays the same way that it always has played. Now I know this one, like they kind of like. Because you get the whips and all that stuff in there, so you can kind of make these super combos going on. They put more stylish things,
and they put more of like a platforming aspect into this game than the other ones.
Well, because more they just have like the run, shit's about to break.
Yeah, they have that, and the whole thing like where you got to jump, you got to whip like from almost not Prince of Persia, but you got to like whip from section to section quickly.
And you got to switch back and forth between the whips and whatnot.
Yeah.
And pull But no, that one's pretty cool. I mean, like. No complaints there. That's all a good one. And the upside too is like, because when I saw, because at first, you know, the main reason there was always the turn off to that game, and I think this happened to a lot of people, was the hair. Yeah. And it's funny how it doesn't seem like a big thing, but like when you see a character, you're like, I gotta look at that guy the whole time. You know?
It didn't really bother me as I played the game. I mean,
well, the thing I like about it is you look at him, you go like, well, yeah, he's supposed to be like 17. I mean, like Demon 17. Yeah. But when I look at him, I go, he's younger than he is in Devil May Cry 3. Yeah. I can totally tell that. And it's almost like he's at this point where he's just like, yeah, fuck life, I'm a teenager, I don't give a fuck, you know. He has like that kind of attitude, which I feel like
he's a lot more.
Devil May Cry 3 is like, yeah, man, fucking party,
No, this one it's definitely they
fucking
say this one's
that
a
missile.
This one is like a. They say this one's supposed to be a reboot, but it almost feels like by the time it ends, it almost feels like, with the exception of a few things, this might be a prequel. I don't know.
To me,
I can't remember.
To me, it does feel like a prequel. When I play it, that's what it feels like.
Well, here's the thing. I can't remember if in Devil May Cry 3 if Dante and Virgil already knew each other, because I don't remember the fucking stories of the first four that well.
I just played 3 again, and I almost want to say they don't. No, maybe they do. I can't remember.
If they do know each other, then it's possible. The one thing they changed is in this they make it that he's half angel and half demon, which I don't know. Maybe he just didn't really tap into the angel side of him so much because by the end of the game, spoilers, by the end of the game, he has white hair. Yeah. So it's kind of like maybe he's slowly transforming into Dante.
Well, that's what I feel like because when the way his personality is, he just kind of has that like I'm a teenager, fuck you kind of attitude. I just want to fuck and drink and eat pizza and.
I'll be honest. I mean, going back on Devil May Cry because I haven't played the games.
My mom, I got mom issues.
He does have mom issues. That's another thing, like because.
Even though
Trish was supposed to look like his mom in the first one, but this one the mom's a redhead, so I don't know. Maybe this is a reboot. They say I think they may have said it was a reboot to try and help sell it, but then as it went on, like, oh no, this is actually a prequel because what ends up happening is by the end of the game, the whole. I know this game's like a year old by now, but it's new to me, so. But
once again, this goes back to the critics thing, goes back to the thing, like, people nowadays always kind of like, once a game's already out for like 2 months, it's already considered old and you shouldn't play it, and then you gotta wait 5 years for it to become retro, and then it becomes back into the circuit again. It's weird how that is.
It is kind of weird how that is. It's just the internet culture, I guess. But, it's, because by the end, because what's cool about this one, I think, is that whenever you go into it's first one of those things like that's a little weird because you're not fighting in the real world. You get sucked into like the demon world, and that's where you're doing all the fighting. But then by the end of the game, the demon world and the real world fuse together. So it's like okay, maybe that creates and gives the setup for the world of all the other Devil May Cry games.
Yeah. So well, to me, it's like this is how you can do it. You can take it like it's sort of like a comic book story, and you fuse together the stories you like the most, and you create your own sort of universe in your mind of it. Like it's like Castlevania, like that Lords of Shadow is supposed to be a reboot, and I know we kind of live in the age of origin stories and reboots, and sometimes I get kind of like there is a point where you're just like, fuck, I hate origin stories so much anymore. Mm-hmm. Like back in the old days, you played 15 episodes where you already knew the character, and then you threw in an episode that said, well, this is how Batman became Batman. You know what I mean? And nowadays, people they're like, no, give me that long, drawn out, origin story. And I think it's just one of those ones, like, people really like I want to know why this character becomes who he is. I
don't think that people always want to know that. I think people making the shit think people we want to know that.
Yeah.
And I think the whole thing with that is, I think for a video game, it's easier to get away with it because you're playing the game rather than watching the movie. That might make the story suffer a little bit.
Because no matter what, there's always going to be action. It's a video game.
Yeah, where
they're not going to make you sit there for 2 hours and go, this is how Lara Croft became Lara Croft. Here's Lara Croft.
Yeah.
She was a child at school.
You play her through boarding school.
Yeah, it's like when am I going to fucking shoot a bear?
Yeah, you just target practice on a shooting range is the final mission of the game or something.
Yeah, she just learned how to shoot a gun.
Good for her.
Now get the sequel.
Yeah. Now, but I think that what was I gonna say? I think it's harder to do that with movies and television because we already know the characters, and sometimes if you can do it interesting enough or give us some information we really didn't know about, or at least present in a way, because I'm going to go back to, this is the best example I can think of, like Batman Begins.
Yeah.
That at least, it wasn't like a half-ass, like, build-up, because sometimes it feels like, all right, let's just get these 20, 30 minutes out of the way.
Put the fucking ring on him.
Yeah, exactly. But this one, it was actually a big part of the story. And even though he didn't get the bat suit till the halfway point of the movie, everything was still its own story. We weren't just waiting for him to put on the bat suit. We saw him in training. We saw him kind of almost kill Joe Chill. We saw all this stuff that that no other movie really focused on before.
Yeah,
and that's why I think that works.
And even TV show or anything else,
Yeah,
like
so
comic books.
And that's why I think that worked right there. Where other ones they just say, well, Batman Begins works, so what's Spider-Man's origin, even though we already did that.
Yeah.
So
Spider-Man already had a long ass origin too.
Yeah. Well, I want to say it was even though Amazing Spider-Man's still a good movie. If the Sam Raimi ones,
long origin in that movie though.
Yeah. If the Sam Raimi movies didn't already exist, that would probably be fine. But since the Sam Raimi ones exist, it's like
you're almost just sitting in the theater being like, we know this already.
Well, I just went in that movie assuming that they were smart enough to know that. and they would change it up a little bit. Like Uncle Ben would die at the end of the movie or something like that. I didn't really assume it's actually
I thought they do one of those things sort of like what they did like for the Incredible Hulk, where they're like, okay, well you already seen the Hulk origin, so we're just gonna speed this up really quickly, just for the people who didn't see the first Hulk or know who the Hulk is. Here's a quick little like montage, and okay, there we go.
I thought it was gonna be like that. I thought like early on he'd get bit by the spider. We just carry on, and by the end of it, Uncle Ben would die because I knew Uncle Ben was in the movie, or Uncle Ben would be in flashbacks. But going back to that,
It's really what they could really do though. If you really just want to speed people up, you could do it in a complete origin. It would cover everything you need to in like a couple-minute montage at the very beginning of the movie. You could even have a narrator over. It's so simple. Like that's the thing I think always bothers me about the origin is. Just from looking at it, it's such like something you can edit down so easily to like you can tell an origin so fast. Mm-hmm. And like you take any superhero's origins, they're all real quick ones. I mean, yes, you can drag them out and you can make them real long, but they can all be told in like under 5 minutes easily.
I think the problem with a lot of superhero origin movies and all that, or not even the superhero, just the supervillain who we're stuck with for the movie. I think it's one of those things where we got to spend 20 to 40 minutes of seeing how that character became that, where certain movies, the guy's already like that. We might just quickly go back, give a 2-minute explanation as of why later in the movie. I think it's sometimes best just to jump in, like, yeah, that's Joker. He's a fucking psycho.
Yeah.
Or like for one, like the one that actually worked, going back to like Christopher Nolan again, is where like Two-Face, it wasn't just like, okay, we got to see him. We got to just crowbar this origin in there to make him Two-Face. It actually was a part of the story. Everything leading up to that. I mean, I guess you can say that the 20 or 30-minute period of them falling into a tank of acid or whatever is part of the origin too. But out of at least it didn't feel like you had to stop the movie just for this. It moved smoothly with the rest of the movie. And for people who didn't know who Harvey Dent was, that was a cool twist.
Yeah. Well, I think it works too because there was a Joker there. If that was just a Harvey Dent movie, I don't think that would have worked at all. It would have been a slow build-up movie that you'd be like, Jesus Christ, when's this going to happen?
Exactly.
But I just know in video games, though, I feel like, and I don't know if it's just one of those ones like the tides have turned and, we're, like, the old generation is flowing backwards and the new generation is coming forwards kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Because, a lot of these games nowadays have been doing reboots. Like, that's kind of been, like, video games used to never do reboots. We'd have 30 games that are all in the same story, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Castlevania's one. It held the record for the most amount of games, and they all were on the same timeline, and there was 30 of them or so, give or take.
How many games have done reboots? Castlevania?
In the last, I'm going to say in the last about, 5 or 6 years, the games that have been doing reboots is there was the Tomb Raider one, the Devil May Cry one, Castlevania,
There's probably more.
There's probably more. I can't think of them, but I just know it's
a lot for the games you play.
You could even say, well, not necessarily reboots, but let's just say origin stories too.
Yeah.
You got Batman with Arkham Origins. I mean, I guess they've been kind of doing pretty cool ones for a while. Because Devil May Cry 3 was one of the first ones to kind of do that.
Isn't every single Legacy of Kain game almost a prequel? Like this one takes place before the last one.
Yeah, Legacy of Kain's like the last one of them all.
Yeah.
But
then there's
So yeah, but the whole point is they've been kind of doing that nowadays. I mean, it's fine, but there is sort of I don't know what I guess because video games have been trying to do something. I don't know if it's the creators or outside perspectives or something. Because there was a time when video games just kind of came in and just like, she's Lara Croft, she's badass, that's what she does. She's like Indiana Jones but a woman, or Dante, he's badass. He eats pizza. He's like his own business.
He's like a teenage Ninja Turtle, but a demon hunter.
Yeah, and that's kind of how games were. They really all had that. Like he's badass.
Well, I think going
and
back.
Now
to
it's the only thing kind of bothers me in video games nowadays is now they always try to think, and I think this is sort of a 2000s thing. Sort of is now it's like get the emotion. Well, what makes a character badass?
I think.
And because
I fucking Wolf Blitzer over here.
Because so many that's even though I love that new Tomb Raider was great, but it was kind of like the emotional ride. How Laura became from just an archaeologist to an archaeologist kicking ass.
All right, well I'll say this: I have no problem.
I know just how Dante became from a sleazy white trash
punk rocker to a badass that loves his own business.
You too can own your own business.
You see him in some some like 3 o'clock in the morning ad like, hey, I own my own business and you can too. Just call.
I mean, I don't have demon, half angel, but I have faith in both sides.
I threatened the realty company to actually give me this fucking house to do all my business in. So I mean, you can't do that. I can though. But
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, I can't really die. So.
you're resourceful. Figure it out. Anyway. Well, I think that can work. The adding emotion to it and adding character to video games, that can work. As long as you do it well, as long as it doesn't feel forced in there. Like, I haven't played the Tomb Raider one. I heard really good things.
Oh, it's an amazing game.
I beat the Devil May Cry 5 one, and I thought I had no real complaints regarding the story or anything like that, because they did. I mean, it didn't feel like the emotional parts didn't feel too like sickly over dramatic.
No, that one's not bad, but it more just kind of fits in. Like, they feel like they have to kind of throw these things in the games nowadays.
I'll say this though.
So I think it's just like. It's the same thing happens with movies too. It's like we can't. It seems nowadays it's hard to have a villain. It's just a villain. They always have to like, why is he a villain? He's tragic. He's actually not really a villain. It's not his fault. He's like this. And it's kind of like I like that kind of like bullshit. Let's have somebody be a villain because they just fucking are. I like that a little bit more.
I like both of them. I think depending on what the movie is or what the story is and what the character is, I think it can work. Where I think something say just going back to Devil May Cry 5 or DMC, whatever you want to call it. That one, I think that story-wise, that's probably the best out of all of the Devil May Cry games. Just story-wise. It's been so long since I played the other Devil May Cry games. I remember my favorite one being number 1. I gotta go back and replay
Number 1 doesn't have that much of a story in it.
It didn't have that much of a story, but I'm saying strictly in the sense of a story. Number 5 is pretty good. That one's the best, I think. Mm-hmm. But if we're going, like, gameplay, it's been a while since I played number 1, and I think
number 1, I will say this: the gameplay doesn't hold up nearly as well in that.
It doesn't. Because I got all these.
That one's the least playable of all 5 of them.
You think so? Because I always thought number 2 was the least.
I think number 2 plays smoother than number 1.
You think so? Okay.
Oh, I'm just saying I played them not that long ago.
Yeah,
so.
I gotta replay them again.
1 is. It's not like you can't play it. It's not like it's like one of those kind of games where it's like, oh, it's just too old. But it is one of those ones like. I guess you get oh my god, the slow text is horrible. But you get used to like playing Devil May Cry 3 and up, and you go back to that one, and it's kind of one of those ones that's just a little bit slower, and the controls aren't like nearly as smooth. Mm-hmm. And it's just something about that. I mean, is that bad? No, it's just not nearly as complicated.
I did like 5 more than 4. I do know that much, and 3. So.
Did you? I don't know if I like it more than 3 still. 3 I still think is the best one.
3 I like. Well, my thing about Devil May Cry series, I feel like sometimes, I mean, I'll keep in mind, I'm not the world's greatest gamer, but sometimes I feel like Devil May Cry series, not number 5. 5 is fairly easy, but 3 almost felt like it was trying too hard to be hard. You know what I mean? It's like, like one of the items is like, oh yeah, you get here's a continue. Like, wait, I don't like have a checkpoint. No. You have to pay for the checkpoint. The checkpoint's an item you get to use. You know, that and like every time you buy something, it goes up like another 500.
No, it does that in this one too. The 5th one.
It does that, but I don't feel like you need items as much in this one.
I will say on the Devil May Cry, when I went back and played Devil May Cry 3 again, I didn't use a single item. I didn't use any of that stuff.
You got by all fine without that stuff.
I didn't. It's one of those ones.
Were you playing it on like easy mode?
Well, the best thing to do is to start off in easy mode and just work your way up.
Oh, okay.
Like that's easy, then do normal, then do hard.
I was on normal, and it was one of those games because when you died, you started at the very beginning of the level, no checkpoints, nothing like that, and every single item you bought, it would go up another 500 or 1,000 orbs or whatever. Mm-hmm. And even though and that to me, I mean, it doesn't really. Like, number 5, it doesn't bother me because I don't need them that much.
Well, that one, I think there's checkpoints all the time, mostly.
Yeah, and it doesn't really bother me that much. But, I mean, I'd use them, but it didn't really have that.
And a lot of times when you die in that one, it's kind of like, it's okay. It's like, well, I need the health anyways.
Exactly. Where the other one is...
The only thing about Devil May Cry 5, though, it's really hard to get health, though. Like, you have to find, like, those green blobs on the side of the wall. Like, you can't get health from just the enemies, I noticed.
Sometimes you can, but it's more than you just gotta break shit around you. And
yeah, it was just kind of strange. It was like, what the fuck? Like, none of these enemies give me health. I remember it was like...
But yeah, I think that sometimes when you just enforce that kind of like, I understand trying to make a game challenging and trying to make it fun, but sometimes I think there's a difference between just making it challenging, trying to make it harder just for the sake of being harder. I think adding 500, like, making it like more expensive every time you buy it, that doesn't really add to the fun value. That's just kind of...
This is more just like, okay. It's like,
yeah.
Well, I think it's one of those kind of games, like, it's Ninja Gaiden, Devil May Cry, Shinobi. Those games they're proud to be hardcore games. I think because we live in the age of like that, like the ones where the games pretty much hold your hand the whole way through nowadays. Those games are really proud to say like, no, fuck you. Here's a challenge. Don't be a bitch, kind of
Except
like.
number 5, they do hold your hand through that one.
Yeah, number 5 does, because when you die, it's like, oh, I started right at the door I just came in.
Yeah.
I want to say, did number 4 do that?
I think
I
it
can't
has.
remember. It's been so long. That's the one. Strangely enough, that's the one I played like the farthest back.
I don't think it like starts you right off where you last right off where you last died. I think you start off somewhere in the middle of the
But
level.
not that far off, though.
Yeah.
Like, not far enough that it's a big deal.
I've been playing, but I haven't died yet. So I guess it says I got a little better at the game since I last played it. But yeah.
Huh.
So.
But no, that Devil May Cry 5, though, is pretty cool, though. I do
Yeah,
like it.
I'm really digging that one.
You know, I liked it a lot. So far, I've got about, I don't know how far, but I like how, the story I like of it a lot, where it's just kind of like, the Republican is like Satan.
It is total, like, have you killed Bill O'Reilly yet?
No, I haven't got that far. I'm at the soda factory still.
Yeah, the one, well, have you seen a cutscene or two where the evil, like, news banker, I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be, like, a cross between Bill O'Reilly and Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just so funny you get these games just like, he's like, Republican is Satan.
It is like very jamming it down your throat. It is trying to be very punk rock about everything, I noticed.
Well, I noticed that game too, that one's actually not made by Japanese. It's made by an American company or something like that.
Oh, that explains all the...
Because in the credits, there's like no Japanese guys except for like, you know, obviously Capcom, like presidents and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And that's the same thing with the Konami one with Castlevania too, which... That always kind of scares me though, because there is that thing, it's just like, but I thought I was playing a Japanese game. I just always feel like, I don't mind other people being involved in it, but I like to know that I'm still playing a Japanese game when I go out to buy there. Like, that money's still going to Japan, right? I don't want to go to America.
I want my own country game. Fuck that.
When it comes to video games, that's
I pay taxes as it is. I don't want to pay any fucking, like, American workers. Shit. No, but
But it always just kind of scares me. I'm like, hopefully, hope there's more Japanese people out there working still. Are there Japanese people losing their jobs?
You haven't gone to the level where you go in the reflection yet, have you?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, you're in the soda factory, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But,
I like how that's so obviously supposed to be like Mountain Dew or something.
yeah, I know.
Well, plus there's also, I heard this a little bit ago. This kind of scares me. I don't drink Mountain Dew anymore, but I heard something, this is just like, I wouldn't surprise me if it's true, but apparently there is a chemical in Mountain Dew that's illegal in every single other country except United States.
No, you said that on Christopher Titus?
Now I hear it on Christopher Titus.
They mentioned that one on the podcast a while back.
I'm behind on Christopher Titus. I got to catch up. But no. And that's one of those things like, there's something that we have that Mexico said, no, keep that shit away from us.
Yeah. In every other country.
Yeah. So that's one of those things like, makes me a little sad knowing Batman was on the cover of Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Knowing that.
Well, I love how there's a part too where it shows one of the guys drinking one of the Mountain Dews and Devil May Cry or whatever. Just
Dante
a big,
slaps it out of his
fat
hand.
guy. Yeah, he's like, don't fucking drink that shit.
Just, it'll kill you. Just slaps it out of his hand. Of course it's just some big... Of course it's just some big, like, blundering, like, fat guy, and, like, some young, skinny guy walk with a hot chick slaps it out of his hand. This will make me look cool in front of Cat. Smack.
But no, yeah, that game's a good one. Mm-hmm. Well, did you see the stuff on Batman Arkham Knight?
Arkham Knight.
Batman.
No, I haven't seen nothing on that yet. Yeah, you told me yesterday.
Yeah, I saw some screenshots and there was a trailer and whatnot, and not much is said. And it was all the villains that I saw were all ones that we fought so far. So it was like Harley Quinn and it was Mr. Freeze. Mm-hmm. I want to say Poison Ivy, but I could be. This is probably about life nowadays. Everything just fucking runs together anymore. The big thing about it, though, is you'll be able to drive the Batmobile in it.
That's
We haven't been able to drive the Batmobile. Well, no, you could drive it in some of those ones for GameCube. I take that back. I was thinking, like, we haven't been able to drive the Batmobile since Sega CD.
Oh, well, is it one of the, like, I think they're, like, more like, this is the Batmobile level, not like a free open world, you can drive the Batmobile, right?
I can't really explain. If I'm guessing, though, it's a free open world thing. Because obviously that's what Batman sort of is. It's the open world game.
Well, I'm wondering if this one's going to have something around the lines, is like Arkham Knight, just like, oh, it's nighttime, or like night? Like,
it's night, like Dark Knight.
Okay, that's what I figured. Is it I guess they gotta keep on finding reasons to have like nothing but criminals outside. Like, I mean, I might complain about Arkham Origins, but I thought it was actually a good way to keep people inside, only criminals outside. Like, okay, there's a manhunt for Batman. Cops are crooked. Christmas Eve, giant blizzard.
Yeah.
No reason for a normal person to be outside right now.
Yeah.
I think that works. It's more of like the I don't know what they're gonna do for this one. Maybe it's Arkham City just expanded, so Batman has no problem running people over. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. But still, it's like that's what I picture. They'll probably have a way to explain why there's nobody outside again.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
You know, and that's fine because it's a video game, so it's like I understand. Like, you know, if it was a movie, it'd be kind of like, okay, that's kind of weird. But
well, here's what I hope. I hope this one, because number one, you know, bad guys, the Joker, obviously. Mm-hmm. Number two, we have two bad guys at the same time, which is, I mean, a whole bunch of them, but really the two head honchos were Ra's al Ghul and Joker. They both had their own agendas, and they both kind of collide at the very end. And then the third one, it's Joker again. So by this point, Joker's apparently dead so I'm really hoping that
Joker just stays dead.
He can come back eventually, but for a game, let's keep him dead. Let's make an attempt without the Joker. Why don't we make the main villain like Hush or Two-Face? Mm-hmm. Or maybe even, you know what? Maybe even don't make Riddler like, oh, I'm the little bonus guy. Make him the main
actual villain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. That's just like, you know, there's only out of these games, there's been 3 of these games, and Joker's kind of hogged them all in a sense. And it's just one of those ones like, you know, I like the Joker and all, but Batman has a lot of fucking villains, and those other guys are not getting the screen time.
Maybe get like Pig and Toad in there.
Yeah, I think they should just. I think in this one, it'd be nice if they could almost say like, don't use a single villain that you used in the other 3, because Batman once again has so many villains. Let's just make it all fresh.
We can give Black Mask a second chance since you got like such like
Black Mask
bitch slapped in the third one.
And even Two-Face because he kind of got bitch slapped in the second one.
Like one of my favorite villains. Well, one of my favorite villains is Two-Face. We see a lot of Two-Face, but we haven't seen him a lot in the game. So let's give Two-Face a bigger part. And I like He's not a favorite villain, but I do like Black Mask. And I was kind of like excited when I found out he was the villain for number 3, just to see.
Well, it's really just Joker in a mask, and Black Mask was just getting bitched around.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. Oh, come on, let's take a chance, you know.
Yeah. So hopefully, I mean, yeah.
And this one's not Montreal. This is the original.
This is back to the original at the London company.
Oh, okay, all right.
So, it sounds good, but pretty much this is gonna be the big reason to get an Xbox One or a PS4 though. Yeah. Because that's all it's coming out for, or PC. But
no Wii U, surprisingly.
No Wii U, which is kind of.
He said sarcastically.
I know, it's kind of like a bummer. It's like, oh, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know. The only downfall is I do feel that Wii U will have it will be trapped in Nintendo land. It definitely will. I don't think you won't really see too much. It'll be just like 360 and PS3. We never really all the big games that came out for both those ones that should come out for Nintendo 2, like they would have back in the day with like GameCube, PS1 or PS2 and Xbox. Now I feel like it's going to be trapped in that same cycle where it's just a little bit behind. All the Nintendo games will be amazing, but we'll never get, you know.
There's one of those things, like right when, I remember there's rumors of this, I don't know if it actually came out to Japan or something, but I remember there were rumors of the Nintendo 64 coming out and talking about, like, we're getting the Nintendo 64 expansion where you slap this thing on and you add a disc drive to it or whatever.
Oh, well, that was where, because the thing they had that was going to come out with it was the Ocarina of Time Master Quest.
Oh, okay.
That's where that comes from.
Oh, okay. Well, I wouldn't mind. Well, I wouldn't mind if they did something like for the Wii U, if it just meant for Nintendo coming on top for a little while. Not even on top, just in the game. Yeah. I wouldn't mind them of just actually saying, "All right, look, we're gonna come out with this expansion called the Wii U Plus or whatever the fuck."
We just
you spend another $100, slap it on your Wii U. We'll still have Wii U games, but we'll have Wii U Plus games over here. I know it seems a little dickish.
It seems weird and it seems strange, but yeah.
If it means them, you know, if it means like.
Well, I mean, because like all it's gonna take is you just need to up your like pretty much your RAM and your processor and all that stuff in there.
So the people that want to play just
put a fucking Blu-ray drive in there.
All the people that just want to play like Wii Sports or like Nintendo Land or whatever, they can still do that. But for the people that actually want to, just give us the full package.
Yeah, it's like I don't know why. I mean, this day and age when it's like you don't have to make the parts yourself, kind of, like where you can just kind of like buy from everybody else, like why can't you just slap that together like you're building a PC, and just make it just a powerful system just to go with that, and I don't know. That's the only downfall. It's just like It's sort of like kind of like when you played like Skyward Sword. Though it was a great game, though, it's just kind of like you kind of look at the graphics to it. It's like just picture what that would have looked like if it was just as powerful as a PS3 or something.
Yeah, and not even the graphics. I think they did a good job. They used what they could because they
I mean, like it looks great for what it is, but it is that kind of thing that you always kind of whenever you came back and played that, you always felt like you sort of were just playing a GameCube game, just a new GameCube game.
That's how all the Wii games felt to me.
I mean, they definitely looked much better than a GameCube, but because Mario Galaxy looked really good and stuff like that. But I feel like it is the downfall, I guess, of the Wii U. No matter what, you have Nintendo games, and mostly Nintendo games can always outbeat anything that Xbox and PlayStation has.
Doesn't Nintendo have a big announcement this April or something?
Yeah, they're supposed to have something big coming out pretty soon.
So unless that announcement is like a big Nintendo game for each month until like Christmas, I really don't know what they're gonna really do. And I was talking to my good friend James, who's not James who's been on the podcast, but
James in Oregon.
James in Oregon, yeah. He
nobody on here knows exactly what we're talking about, but yes,
because he's a big Nintendo fan. He told me he read somewhere, and this just pisses me off. This just sounds fucking lazy on their part, but it's the internet, so who knows? But he said he read somewhere that Nintendo says, at the moment, we have no plans to release another Star Fox or F-Zero game because we don't want to make a game unless and we don't want to make just another one of the same games. We want to go forward and we want to try and give something inventive to each game. And to that, I say, bull fucking shit.
Well, this ties all back to the Lords of Shadow thing. It's like one of those ones. The game doesn't have to be inventive. Just make a second one that's just as fun and just gives you more story.
Well, here's what pisses me off. Because they say that, like, we want to be more inventive. Like, okay, new Super Mario Brothers franchise.
Yeah.
What's so
the
inventive?
The least inventive franchise in recent history.
And like, well, like, and like, I guess you can say, oh, well, this one, Mario, he's got, there's gold, there's a gold flower, and if he gets the gold flower, there's lots of coins, and you collect coins in this one. That's what's special about this one.
Or this one doesn't have Tanuki suit, but it has squirrel suit.
Yeah, this one, it's like you could play as 4 people at the same time. That you would never do that before Mario.
It's like pretty frustrating anyway. It's kind of,
and it's just kind of like, dude,
have you ever played New Super Mario Bros. With multiple players?
Yeah,
it's actually not as fun as you think it would be.
Well, it can be fun. It's more. It can be fun, but it's more of like humanity's darkest side comes out. You like chuck your own friend off a cliff to get that one up.
Well, then you kind of realize too. It's like it's sort of like playing Contra. If you don't have a friend that's just as good as you, you're just. It's kind of like
how many 4 people? How many are going to be as good?
Exactly. Well, it's just one of those ones like. You couldn't play with a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I guess you could, but you'd have to keep giving them fucking lives and whatnot because you keep dying.
Exactly, and someone has to pop the balloon to let them out. Or
so it'd be a pain in the ass.
At some point, someone pops the balloon right over a cliff, just drops. Yeah.
So it's one of those ones you need. It's like the Contra buddy system, and that's why like Contra's always been a hard game to play because there's only so many people out there that can play Contra to like a high level. And
I know, but that just pisses me off because okay, I could see sort of like maybe some like to an extent. More recent years in Mario Kart, okay, you did some things different to that one. I guess the Mario Kart 7, you can ride along the side of walls and jetpacks and all that kind of shit. Cool. But at the end of the day, it's still fucking Mario Kart.
Well, at the end of the day, it's Mario Kart 64 still has always been the best one. You know what I mean? And all Mario Kart 64 is they just took the 2D style of Mario Kart for Super Nintendo and just made it 3D and just expanded it, made it 4 players, put in battle, or I guess battle mode was in the first one too, but 4-player battle mode. And that's a perfect example. It's like, just do that.
I guess that even some aspect, we're kind of holding them against things like they did 16 years ago. But even in recent years, though, when you look at it...
against it. I'm saying that was like, that's example, like, that's what you should do. It's like Star Fox. I feel like the Super Nintendo to like the N64 there was such a great, like that, they did it perfect then. Mm-hmm. You take Star Fox, because it was just a polygon game on Super Nintendo. Mm-hmm. Well, all it really is Star Fox 64 is just a remake of the first 2. And it's just in better graphics, better play control, voiceovers, and so on. And
even going, they saying like we don't want to do it unless we feel like we're pushing the game forward. I mean, I like Legend of Zelda, but at the end of the day, you're still going. Maybe you get different items, but at the end of the day,
you're still saving the princess, battling some kind of Ganon.
You're going to like dungeon to dungeon. Maybe this one stands out than other ones in some way, but really it's kind of like, okay, this one I can fly a bird, this one I have a boat. At the end of the day, I'm still going from dungeon to dungeon,
You want to be inventive? Make the fucking Legend of Zelda the Western version.
Take my idea, Take my idea, which was inspired by Fistful of Rupees,
do that. Rig Legend of Zelda. That's what you really need to change. Even though I'm fine with Zelda. Zelda's fine. Just, keep releasing
That's fine.
Zeldas.
And I'm not talking shit on that. I mean, I like Legend of Zelda. I'm just saying
That's just not,
don't call that innovation. I mean, it's changing it a little, but it's not like a huge step. So don't talk about like, no, we're not coming out with a new Star Fox game until we come up with a more inventive way to play it. It's like, no. People like Star Fox. You will make money if people buy Star. Hopefully that's just some bullshit they said, so people don't expect it. So when they make an announcement this April, it's like, oh, one of the games coming out is a Star Fox game.
Well, it's one of those too. It's
just
this thing. It's like, innovation. That's not the most important thing when it comes to a video game. It can be cool once in a while, but when it really gets down to it, a good game is by being a good game. And really, we've never really got our exact sequel to Star Fox 64. Star Fox Assault was good, but they kind of almost try to put too much into it. Just make another fucking Star Fox 64. A lot of times, one of the biggest things they can always do something is just new story, new graphics.
Yeah.
That is a lot of times all you need. If you put a Star Fox on Wii U with the graphics it would have, but plays just like Star Fox 64, you add a little bit more to it. But all it is just, there's 30 levels or something like that. You have different paths. And they're all different levels, too. Or they're kind of like same levels that you've played before, but you see a different section of this planet and so on and whatnot.
We'd be grateful for that.
Oh, that's what people want.
And even Star Fox Assault, that game was... I'm one of the few people that I liked that game. But
I like that one a lot, too.
My only real complaint was this. Alright, your teammates are already fucking hapless without you.
Yeah.
In regular Star Fox. But it's annoying when you have to okay, I gotta go inside this giant, facility of all these bug things, go inside these caves, battle them, and then all of a sudden get Fox, I need help! When I'm on the fucking ground with a gun.
Yeah, and you're up there, you're shooting a fucking blaster from the ground, fucking protecting your guys in the ships. It's like, really?
And that's one of those...
There's 3 of them up there.
And then plus the whole other, fucking Corneria army or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
So it's one of the... Is that what it's called? Corneria? Is that what it is?
Yeah, the first... Yeah.
Corneria, yeah. So it's one of those things come on, man, just... That was... Beyond that, though, it's the game's fine,
And then it's also F-Zero, too. It's sometimes it's a racing game. What more innovation we need? We need better graphics and, better graphics, new cars, new levels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, come on. There hasn't been an F-Zero game since the one came out for GameCube.
Exactly.
It's been a long fucking time since there was an F-Zero. I don't think there was even,
There's one for DS or 3DS?
No, there never was. The last one was the Game Boy Advance one also, too. So it's come on. You got some series here. Also, where the fuck's a Metroid game? It's been a while, too. I guess not that long. Metroid Other M came out, I guess, only about 4 years ago.
I bet Metroid's going to be... I guess just come out and say, we got a Mario game, we got a couple of... Probably got a Pokemon game or two, got Legend of Zelda... They gotta mention Legend of Zelda. They haven't done anything for Zelda yet. Probably.
Well, they had
Metroid.
the Wind Waker remake.
Yeah,
I know it's just a remake, but
new Legend of Zelda.
And they have the
Zelda.
Link Between Two Worlds, so I guess it wasn't that.
Don't get me wrong. When I get a Wii U, I'll get the Wind Waker remake. I will, but let's just for argument's sake, Zelda, new Zelda.
Yeah, something that's we've never seen before.
And
something. But Nintendo has all these great franchises that I feel I don't know why they hold on. It's not Squaresoft, I always call it the Final Fantasy VII Remake. That right there is their Hail Mary. That is what that fucking is. The day that the Square ship is about almost underwater, they fucking throw that remake out there, and they are fucking flying high in an airship again.
That's all they got.
That's all they... And I think the whole reason they do this, they just go we know that's our fucking Hail Mary. We know that when shit goes down, we can always make a Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Well,
if we make this right now, we lose our Hail Mary.
I think that, or you could even go as far as to doing... I mean, it probably wouldn't be as solid, because you already came out with the 7 remake, but 7-2? Because they're coming out with Final Fantasy X-2. I mean, you get Crisis Core, which is a prequel, but you got Final Fantasy X-2, and then, 13 Part 45, whatever they're on. I don't know. But, and then they got all this, Final Fantasy versus Crystal Core, whatever. It's getting confusing now.
Well, Final Fantasy nowadays, I would say it's not Final Fantasy. I mean, It's like
Not your Final Fantasy.
Yeah, it's not. Once the original guy left, I always say there was a reason why from like 10 on it kind of went downhill, and it's to me it's like it's really easy to point out the guy who made Final Fantasy 1 through 9 was gone.
And he tried to start a new franchise called Last Odyssey or something, was it? Or?
He has his own company and he made games. The ones he did Lost Odyssey for Xbox.
How was that? Because you had that game.
Yeah, the thing about that one, okay, it was you played like a classic RPG. You didn't fucking run around when you fought. You just stood still and pressed attack and magic and stuff like that. But the only thing it had the thing, which this is something I don't like in Final Fantasies though sometimes, is when this character has to do black magic. This character has to be a white mage. This character, like...
You like customizing them.
Well, I like it. I want all three of my characters to be attackers. Okay. I want no fucking magic. I want all, like, attacking. The only magic I'm going to use is Cure. I don't give a shit about, fire, ice, all that stuff. I want my guys to be all brutes. I want like 3 jocks up there fucking whooping ass. And that's why I love Final Fantasy 7 and 8. Because on those ones, you make your characters whatever you want to be. Mm-hmm. Because in 7, you have the materia system, so whenever you give people magic, their, attack goes down, but their magic goes up. So you go, fuck that, and you just give them all the attack abilities, and their attack goes up, and their magic just goes, whatever, I'm not going to use magic. Same with, 8, too. I like that one because you have magic, and what you do is you junction it to your characters, so you're like, I'm never going to use magic, so fuck it, I'll put all my magic on their stats, so they all go up. And I love that. And that was the downfall of the Lost Odyssey, is it had that, and it kind of just lost me at that. I mean, yeah, it still felt like I was kind of playing a Final Fantasy, but it wasn't the exact Final Fantasy I was looking for, And even though I like Final Fantasy 6, it gives you enough characters that, no matter what, and they all mostly do a good tax anyways, even though that one does have, this character does do magic. Well, they bring magic in kind of late, but each character has their own, abilities, I guess you could say.
What was going a little off topic, but still Final Fantasy, what's
But he did do some other ones, too, games.
What's the red vampire guy from number 7? What's his name? Victor? The red vampire guy. He has the gun.
Oh, yeah, he's not red.
Victor.
He's
crimson.
Yeah,
well, he's in a red outfit.
He's in a black outfit, actually.
I thought it was black with a red robe or something. And
Vincent, there we go.
Vincent, yeah. Did you ever play the third-person shooter game that he was in?
I never did. I remember JR. He got that game. He said it was good. It wasn't amazing, but he said it was enjoyable if you like Final Fantasy.
Because they only really go back to their most recent one or Final Fantasy 7. I was thinking. I don't know jack. I've seen some of the characters. I know little plot points here and there. In the day, I don't really know my Final Fantasy that well. But I'm just curious about this. Say they went out of their way and they made a hack and slash Devil May Cry style game starring Squall from Final Fantasy 8. Would you get that, or would that be? So I can imagine that.
Well, it's okay, that could be fun, and it'd be a fine spin-off, Not
as a main game, just a spin-off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's they could be kind of fun, and I guess that'd be sort of like what the one that came out for. There's 2 of them that came out for PSP.
Crisis Core.
Not Crisis Core.
The
fighting ones. Yeah, it would be kind of probably like that, I guess. But it's still all I really want. I just want a traditional RPG with the modern graphics. I want to stand still, none of that running around bullshit. I just want attack, magic, items, abilities. That's it. Mm-hmm. I want no fucking voiceovers. I hate the voiceovers so much in RPGs. Voiceovers are fine in every other video game, but reading in an RPG, that's what they should be, because that's how that's
how kids learn.
Well, I like that with older video games too. It's because you kind of in your head, you kind of have a voice for them, and then when they talk kind of in RPG, it's mostly obnoxious. There's always obnoxious characters.
Titus annoyed the fuck out of me. I tried getting into number 10, but Titus, or the fuck his name is.
Yeah, I'm not calling Titus. It's fucking Titus.
Titus.
Nobody says his fucking name in that game because it's supposed to be because he's the only character you can change.
Yeah.
Which that feels like that's gonna make it so hard to write because you're fuck, okay, how we okay.
Listen, you.
But
I love you, Yuna. I love you too.
But
kind of kill the emotion. Which no, that guy was just so fucking annoying to me. I bought 10 for $20. I tried playing it. I got to the part where the dude in the red with the big ass sword joins the party.
They're the only cool character really in it.
Orin, yeah.
There's a couple cool characters, but that was...
I thought Yuna was all right.
Yeah, Yuna was fine.
I liked the guy with the big sword. Who always had his arm hanging out of his sleeve. I like that guy. And then
Wasn't
there's
Orin?
yeah, Orin, that was his name. And then I liked the Chewbacca looking motherfucker. I like that.
Yeah.
Guy.
You know, and 10 was one of those games was like, it still played like a traditional RPG. The thing that always bothered me the most in it was I hate how they took off the level up system in it. Which they kind of like, when they made 10-2, they kind of did that like, we're sorry, here's your level up system.
I guess it's also one of those things though, for an RPG, I guess for a JRPG or any RPG, you gotta care for the story. Because even though the game can still be fun, on some level you gotta care for the story. So if you don't care for the story, it's like, why are you playing it in the
Well, yeah, because when it comes down to RPG, that's like one of the main things you're playing it for is the story.
Yeah,
the story and the grinding.
One of the reasons why I dropped out of Final Fantasy X, I really tried to get into it. I couldn't get into it.
10 was just, I don't know. They have this
Cool
they have this remake coming out this month, and it's like I don't have a PS3 or a PSP Vita. It came out for 360, but I was still kind of considering I'm like that would be kind of cool to get. More probably for 10-2 though, because 10-2 was like that was the only one that I thought was like a pretty good game, and I think the whole point of that one because they came back to be more of like okay, this is more traditional RPG. There's a level up system in it. You can choose whatever your characters want to be. You know, there's only these 3 characters. So that's another thing I like in RPGs too. When you start giving you too many characters, I just have the 3 characters. Like, there's no reason I should have more than that many characters or 4 characters. I don't like switching characters in and out, especially if the characters don't level up when they're not in the party. That's always really the problem. I don't know. It just was once. This day, I keep asking people. Nobody, like, I'll ask people on fucking the internet. Nobody can fucking give me, like, an answer. Like, I asked them, like, is there another game out there? I've been searching for many years. Many moons I've been searching for a game that's sort of like a set that plays in that 7 and 8 style.
Turn-based or...
like a turn-based RPG. You know, I mean, obviously, I guess the voiceovers are kind of like, you can't really get away from them nowadays. But a turn-based RPG where the characters aren't stuck to, like, whatever jobs they are. But still kind of has like an adult feel, like because a lot of them like nowadays too, they still have like that. They have that kind of kiddie graphics, like a
Mario and Luigi or something.
No,
like that.
not like
Paper
that.
Mario.
No, not that kiddie, I guess. More like they look like they're made for like teenagers, like kind of like younger, like
big eyes.
Yeah,
of,
very like almost too anime-ish, like
where it's more like. You gotta have like enough faith in yourself to stop the bad guy. That's like more of the story.
Yeah,
rather
like sort of like because like those ones are kind of hard for me to play too nowadays. Like when I kind of have that, it's like. I want to be kind of like, because the thing I like about 7 and 8 is like, you know, I mean, 8, I guess the characters are kind of all supposed to be kind of like young youths. Even though they say they're like all 17, 18, they all look like they're like 25.
Yeah.
You know, but I like 7 because you had, you know, some characters were 45, some characters were, 18, some characters were somewhere in between. You know? And it's just something like that and no fucking running around when I'm battling. That's the thing I can't stand. That's almost like all RPGs nowadays. Mm-hmm. And nobody's been able to answer it. Nobody has a fucking... They'll give me stuff and I'll be like, that's not close enough. It's like, Lost Odyssey, that's not what I'm talking about. You know...
so you were really excited when you got
there's that one that keeps coming out that's called out for 3DS called Bravely Default. And that one, like, it looks like it's got a pretty good battle system, but the only thing, too, is it looks like it has those kind of kiddie graphics with, like, the big eye. Like, the very, like, almost like, too, like, anime, like...
Like there's
it
anime?
looks like it's made for, like, a kid who just, like, okay, you just finished playing Pokemon, what's the next level up?
Yeah.
Like that kind of game.
Because I don't have a problem with like an anime look, but
No,
when it's like when it's blatantly like
it's not anime like the look. Because I like anime, but like, okay, we have like Dante from the old Devil May Cry like looks, where like he's like anime looking, but he looks adult.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have like the anime where it's like it's almost getting close to like the chibi anime things. They're not that far yet, but they're not that far off. And I don't like.
Character is always like wide-eyed and smiling and all
like
the emotional
they're
stuff.
like the size of about 3 heads, tall.
Yeah.
That mostly only happens on like handheld systems though.
Yeah.
And, like that's the only thing. It's like it's a strange kind of thing, but it's like I don't know. Like if I'm gonna be putting 30 hours in, I gotta like what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm. No, I get you.
It's so hard. I just can't find it. I just can't find it.
Someday.
Well, it's kind of like this goes back to Devil May Cry though. It actually kind of remind me like. The one thing kind of like in some of these modern games that like I guess they're Japanese games originally, but now they're not Japanese as much made. In Devil May Cry though, like it kind of lost like the Japanese look. Like a lot of things don't look very Japanese. Like, and even the character himself, he looks like fucking Roy Harper on fucking Arrow. Like Dante looks like him. Oh, okay. He's got that kind of like he looks like he should be on the CW. He kind of has that pretty boy look.
Yeah.
Whereas in like all the other Devil May Cry, he has a very anime look.
Yeah,
and I noticed we're starting to lose the anime look. There was a time period where, like, I guess Americans were going like, we're starting to lose the American look. Everything's becoming anime.
Well, it's one of those things I never really associated kind of like old like Devil May Cry cutscenes with the anime look. Because I think most of the time when we think anime, I mean, I know there's multiple styles of anime. When we think anime, we think the big eyes and kind of maybe like...
To me, that's not what I think.
Not always. I mean, like, it looks almost kind of like... When I actually stop and look at certain things, like Final Fantasy, Devil May Cry, two entirely different games, but the characters have a similar look.
Yeah, they all look kind of like Japanese, is I guess what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, and before I didn't really notice, but is
that CG anime.
CG anime, yeah. Now, the more I pay attention, I can kind of see, because their faces always look a lot more softer, a lot more feminine, and now I really can't pinpoint it as much, but I mean, I know it when I see it, but it's hard to explain.
Well, it's like even like the new Castlevanias and stuff. It's like they're all like a lot of the Japanese games are losing that sort of anime look, and I think it's one of those ones. I mean, I know it's that Japan's trying to fit in with America.
Let me actually put it this way,
which is kind of sad because there was a time period where it used to be the other way around.
America's trying to keep up with Japan,
but it's like. The one thing that always bothers me in life is like never lose like who you are. That's always a key thing. Like,
did Last Samurai teach us nothing?
Yeah. Be your fucking self, because no matter what, when it all gets down to it, nobody likes anybody who's trying to be someone else.
They need to have like Tom Cruise walk into like the head of Capcom with a sword and kneel down, hold it up.
Because that's the only thing.
For Kasamoto!
When I do look at Devil May Cry, though, like the new one, I do kind of have that, like, I'm like, I wish it looked more like anime-ish. It's one of those things, it's just because, like, I'm playing a Japanese game, and the graphics are good, but I do feel like I'm looking at fucking, like, the characters do remind me a lot like CW characters. Because there's this horrible commercial on CW. It's like, you have to put up with it, because if you want to watch Arrow, I guess. But it's just got this, like, horrible song where it's like, TV is now, blue, 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 doo, 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 blue. And all it is, it's like, it shows all their shows, and it has their characters in it, and this commercial makes no fucking sense. It's 3 minutes long, and it's just like, it really should just have fucking Marilyn Manson's song playing The Beautiful People over it. The beautiful people, the beautiful people. Because that's all it is. It just shows these people just like, oh, I'm sexy.
Walking in slow motion.
Like, yeah, in slow motion and stuff. And it's just like...
guys with their shirts off.
Yeah, chicks like, with like flowing hair and dresses. And just like... You have no idea what's going on. That commercial explains nothing. It's one of the worst...
At some point, do you see...
it's so bad, I want to send Warner Brothers a letter. I'm getting that close.
At some point, do you actually see anybody throw a punch or shoot an arrow?
You see Green Arrow pull the bow back. Like he's going to shoot somebody. And then you see Slade yell, sort of.
Even Slade's a good-looking guy. I just saw like a clip of Arrow, and I saw Slade. And like, even Slade's a good-looking guy. He doesn't have the fucking eye patch yet.
He does have the he
has it now?
Yeah, he has it by this point.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he's still a good-looking guy. I mean, yeah, Arrow.
He's not all grayed up. He's not all grayed up yet.
Yeah, he's getting there, but he's not like old Slade. Mm-hmm. He's more like middle-aged Slade. Mm-hmm. But still, yeah, it's just like that beautiful people thing. And I know we live in like. We're sort of like in the age of like the beautiful people thing. So you see it starting to see it in video games now too, where people are just getting like more and more like.
I did think Dante looks kind of like a pretty boy, which that's fine. But the anime thing, that CG anime,
I never. Boy, but he's wearing like all these like dirty, grungy clothes.
Let me put it this way, if this makes any sense. I guess they did look. I guess for just DMC, they look more of kind of like what you said, like American, kind of like CW, but they look a little grungy, a little bit more beat up, just mixed in there. Where your traditional anime stuff, I guess never noticed it. I guess to me it looks like almost kind of like Barbie dolls in a sense, because they all look the same. They all have the same
like mold.
The same mold, just different hair color, different hair is really
what makes the clothes and the hair what makes the characters.
Yeah, that's like the big thing when it comes to Japanese CG animation.
Well, even just anime in general, unless the characters have to be like really fat or small or something different, they all have kind of like that same body just with different hair.
Well, I noticed there's kind of like several. I mean, there's a bunch of different types of animation, but I guess the ones you see the most in Japanese anime is probably I'm going to start with. I guess something like Cowboy Bebop, where you can see it's anime, but their eyes aren't ridiculously
they have
big.
eyes.
Some of their eyes are a little bigger, like maybe Ed or Faye, but for the most part, they look fairly proportionate and whatnot. Then you got probably the step down, which would be something I guess like I'm going to go to girl anime here, like Tenchi or Inuyasha, where they look a little disproportionate to an extent, like they have bigger eyes. They all have kind of like some, because I think in Bebop they all at least. That type of animation, they all have at least some kind of defining feature.
Yeah, and they're kind of drawn to look kind of proportionate and look like try to look as real life as possible as far as a cartoon goes.
Or even like I'd throw like say something like Pokemon into the same realm as like Inuyasha or something. Where it's kind of like,
let's just say that's kind of like the teenage kid anime look.
And then you get lower, and then you got even like the more. I mean, the
super kitty.
The super like. I mean, maybe it's like an adult show even, but it's like disproportioned. Very. I guess something like.
Even though it's not anime, like Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, something like that. But actually, I was gonna say
it technically is anime because it's who are the people that animate this whole show?
Exactly. I was gonna say this actually, rough.
Technically, by that stand, though, Batman the Animated Series is an anime too.
It's a real rough jump, but a little bit ago, I want to say this real quick because I actually got a little depressed while watching it. I was at a friend's house a little bit ago, and because I was gonna make an example of Digimon, I was at a friend's house a little bit ago, and we were all talking. Somehow we got on like the topic of the Digimon movie, and like. My friend, she's like, "Whoa, I actually got the Digimon movie. It's been so many years since I watched it." We all started talking. We were gonna actually go in and watch Uncle Buck, but we landed on Digimon. Like, all right, well, I haven't seen this movie in years. Yeah, let's check it out. You know, because I remember seeing it in theaters. That's the one time I saw it. And I saw it in theaters. I liked it. I was younger. I watched that movie. Like, this must have been like 2 weeks ago. I watched that. Holy fuck.
That one doesn't hold up very well.
It don't hold up at all, dude. It's one of those things like I understand there's some things when you're a kid it had its moment, but it's like
I say Digimon was that other show that like I really liked a lot when I was a kid. But you know, like in like the last while, like I've seen Pokemon like in like the last like 6 years or something like that, and I've seen other stuff, but I'm like I haven't Digimon's something I've never gone back to that one. So
I remember it was me, a group of friends, and like that one friend's mom. I feel so fucking bad for that mom because watching it now out of that frame, because I must have been like 13 or something. Watching it now out of that frame mindset or whatever, it was like, because they had like you don't realize when you're a kid, but every like 5 minutes they had Digimon, digital monster. They like transform like every 5 minutes they play that fucking song. And something I found out, because while watching the movie, I eventually just went on Wikipedia, like they do something, they change some shit. That movie, they took like 3 individual like movies and just edited them down, throwing them together to make one concrete movie they can sell to Americans. And then threw in some music by Bare Naked Ladies, Smash Mouth, like fucking, I don't know, Goldfinger, something like that.
All those popular bands from like the 90s and like early 2000s.
Yeah, and like any chance they'd get, they'd throw in some kind of like late 90s, early 2000s ska song or like, you know, some pop song. Did you ever see the movie?
Yeah, I saw it, but I haven't seen it since it came out though.
I saw it once in theaters, and there's the part where like they like it was one of those things. There was no moment of subtlety. There was no moment of like, let's just be quiet and like let the characters. They're always talking. There's no short minute of breath, and if there's no talking, some song is going on. That came out at that time. Like the part where like fucking I forgot about this. It wasn't the. There's the orange T-Rex thing.
Yeah,
I don't remember
the
his
main character is like.
It wasn't him, but I guess the beginning, because there's one they meet that becomes their friend, but it's not the one that become friends later. It's just one that gets there somehow.
Huh.
Through the computer. Just the egg. The computer shits out an egg, and then here's this thing. They're chasing that thing around, like, the room, and they're playing, "Everybody now, funk's your brother, give it up now." They're playing that song as they're trying to wrestle this thing down. You know, it's just running through the house or whatever.
Oh my gosh. I
was just watching this movie, just with arms crossed, going like, God. I mean, I know it's a kid's thing, but I was just like, A, I feel really old for know how long ago this movie came out. B, it was hard to choke down, man. It was a thick dick. I couldn't really.
The one way, this is how you can always tell, like, is watch a show that, like, wasn't your generation, like a kid's anime one. Uh-huh. Watch one of those, and then that's when you kind of go, like, oh, I see, like, how, like, adults kind of go, how the fuck did you understand what was going on in these shows? Because something about those animes, like, they are only made for a child's mind that has a lot of free space to take in a lot of knowledge at once.
Yeah, that's a good point. I thought of that.
Because you think about it, that's what all those shows are. They're actually extraordinarily complicated because how much names. It's like Pokemon's a perfect example. You know, just in the original show, there's 150 Pokemon. There's all these. It's a brand new world. There's all this shit to take in. Then you get even more Pokemon as the thing goes on. And it's also just like Yu-Gi-Oh was another one. I remember sitting down and watching an episode once. It was at like a fucking hospital or something. I think it was like on TV. And me and Kyle were sitting there watching it. And it was just like. because I never watched Yu-Gi-Oh. Yu-Gi-Oh to me felt like by the time Yu-Gi-Oh came out, I was on to like adult animes by that point. That time had passed.
Same here.
So like I was watching it, and it was about 10 times more complicated than Pokemon, where they're just playing the card game, and it's just like there's all this different shit going on, and it's just like, I mean, I know especially when you jump into like episode 40, like when you didn't see any of this episode 2, it's like obviously it's gonna be way more complicated there, but it's still one of those things that's just kind of like, I have no idea what the the one thing I get is they're playing a card game. I get that. I almost kind of felt like that too, because like we were watching like the latest episode of Arrow. And just like any show, really, if you never watched a show, it just must seem like, what the fuck is going on? And my dad was there watching it too, and with us, and it was just one of those ones. I'm like, I wonder if he's gonna get what's going on. It's like I just kind of like when a commercial came up, I was like, it's pretty much 2 stories. He's on an island, this one, and then this is like the future, because it's just like it comes on and. They're Slade, and you can see this like aggression with them, like in the future story, and then it goes back with Slade and Arrow, and they're friends, and my dad's just probably like, "The fuck."
I can get that
because like if nobody tells us, like you don't get that that's 2 different stories.
My dad, I remember one time when I was watching. First, I just want to say this about the Digimon. I just want to say this real quick while looking at the movie. Because going in, I mean, I was not expecting a masterpiece. I was like, it's probably going to feel a little dated, but we're gonna laugh, we're gonna chuckle at it. I was just sitting there like, what the fuck is going on? I was just so like, there's actually I looked on Wikipedia on it, and it's the 3 movies they fused together. One movie was called, like fucking Digimon Adventures or whatever. Second one was called Our War Game. Which, okay, that works. Third one, the longest title, like it was like a fucking paragraph long. It was like
Digimon's like transforming to the future of space, time, and ecstasy.
No, longer than that.
Longer than that?
It was like
with love, joy, and sex.
No, it was like
Digimon.
It was like Digimon.
It's way cooler than Pokemon, bitch.
Longer than that. It was like
and Dragon Ball Z and fucking Yu-Gi-Oh.
Suck our dick. Suck our digi-dick.
And Cowboy Bebop. It's like, oh, you're kind of pushing it there now.
No, it said like Digi Battle Extreme / Super Ultra Omega Touchdown / something. It was just like, and I had like
only
3
a child
slashes.
could remember.
Yeah,
a child would remember that, and be like, and he would just explain it back to you, just like, like, what, you didn't remember that?
Yeah, it was just one of those things. Just like it was so fucking just. Yeah. But anyway, going back to that, you said your dad walking in, like watching Arrow with you one time.
Well, and that's not that complicated of a show compared to these other ones, but it still is that one. Like, I think about that, like, I'm like this, like it's just like anything else, it's like Lost. If you didn't start Lost in the beginning and you just walk in, you go, "This is the gayest fucking show I've ever seen." And that's what I thought, and I stood by those words. But Arrow, you sit there and you just kind of go like, it's just gonna be, it's gonna be so weird just walking into some random episode,
I'll say this real quick.
I mean, I think the episode was simple enough because it was really just like a Slade Wilson just gets angry episode, and like it was like, "Fuck you, Arrow."
That's just a whole episode of that.
Yeah, you can really sum the episode. That's what it was.
Okay. Well, this is probably not. It's not Arrow. There's one time when I was like, it had to be 4th or 5th grade.
Is this the cat dog story?
I was going to lead into that, but no. There's one time where the cat dog's funnier, so I figured I'd finish up with that. It had to be like 5th or 6th grade. I was watching Pokemon. It was the first episode of Pokemon, and my dad, he knew I liked this thing. He saw like figures of it and heard me talk about it, so he just sat down and watched it.
Arms found crossed. Him in the bathtub.
What?
He found figures in the bathtub. He thought it was kind of strange. But...
I wasn't taking action figures into the bathtub at me when I was in the fucking 5th and 6th grade. No.
I was a shower boy when I was a shower.
It doesn't sound like something you want to advertise. I was a shower boy, goddammit. It sounds wrong.
Don't call it shower boy. For the love of God, you don't tell your friends at school. It's like, yeah, we all are shower boys.
Sounds like a band, like Billy Gibson and the Shower Boys. No, so it's like the first episode, and because it was on a rerun. I'm watching it. He's sitting there.
That's like emotion. I remember as a kid, you're like, it's so fucking sad,
because he yells at the sparrows as they're flying down.
He's like, you get away from my Pikachu.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking like, okay, he'll maybe he won't love it, but he'll at least understand it.
There's emotion.
There's emotion. He'll understand, you know. And when he gets to the episode, he turns and looks at me. He's like, "This is your favorite fucking show?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Dad. Yeah, it is."
He gets up. I hear him going around the corner. I hear the fridge open. I hear a beer open. I goes to the garage. No. And there's like, this is probably sometime that same year. I don't know which one came first, but sometime that same year, I think, Cat Dog was on. For the younger listeners listening, at one point in time in the 90s, there was a show on Nickelodeon called Cat Dog. And what it was about a dog and a cat that are connected.
And no matter what age you were, the first question was always like, how do they shit?
Yeah. Does one just shit out the other's mouth? I do remember there was an episode where what one did to one of their teeth happened to the other teeth. Like, cause Cat took good care of his teeth. Because, of course, Cat was the really stuck-up, snobby one.
It was like the Odd Couple, sort of, but like in the same body.
Fused together. Yeah, so that was the
just like the Odd Couple, like they're both fused together. Like, oh!
Now it sounds kind of like maybe like a setup for the Human Centipede or something. Now I'm thinking back to the Cat Dog thing.
There's two old guys that have like fused together into one body.
So, all right.
And they don't have legs anymore. Now they just walk
on like hands. So,
they're just connected to the torso.
It's a very fucked up show.
But it's a sitcom, so it's like a laugh track or something.
Like, what if that just sounds like a very, like, Lars von Trier presents Cat Dog. We're Abomination, what are we? It's live action, two, like, full-grown men just with, like, I don't know, like, dog, cat makeup, spray painted orange. Like, very serious, dramatic movie about, like, Cat Dog. You got, like, some weird, evil, like, green rabbit that walks in the room. I don't know, like, played by, like, who'd be a very scary big guy to play that? Like, the guy who played, like,
I feel like Batista.
No, I'm thinking someone scary.
Bigger?
I'm thinking, like, scary as in, like, rapist, you know?
I was thinking, yeah.
I don't know, just some very fat, scary...
Gary Oldman can play it.
Gary Oldman?
Yeah,
and put him in a fat suit. Put him in a fat suit. Spray paint him green. He's like, "You owe my rent, Cat Dog." You know, just this very, like, just get like the production unit from like the concept designer from like fucking any Guillermo del Toro movie. I think this would be a very fucked up, weird looking movie. Just get that. It's a drama. It's not a comedy.
Yeah, no.
But anyway, so back to watching Cat Dog. One time my dad came in, sat down in the last 10 minutes, and he just was watching the show intently, not saying anything, just watching the show, focusing, and he almost had this look on his face like, is there something about this I'm supposed to know that I don't? Just watching it, like, does the kid know something I don't? Then by the time the show ends, he's like, is that a fucking cat and dog connected? Like, yeah, Dad, it is. The show's called Cat Dog. He runs up, gets up, goes to the fridge, hear a beer crack open, goes to the garage.
Speaking of that time period, we just watched The Iron Giant again.
Oh, that's a good movie. I haven't seen it in years. Shooter McGavin's the bad guy.
Is he?
Yep.
Huh. That's a really good movie. Well, Vin Diesel's the robot.
Yeah, he is. And they're making a little homage to that, and whatchamacallit, Guardians of the Galaxy, because he's voicing Groot, and that's be kind of an homage to like
the Warner Bros. Movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, because he voice acting, like, oh yeah, he voice acted one of the best, most recent, one of the best like modern classic animated movies or whatever.
That movie, like, didn't it win some awards and stuff when it came out? It's kind of a forgotten movie nowadays.
It's like a cult film. It's like a cult classic.
Well, because I wanted to say that was a movie that got awards. It was like because most movies that get awards are always mostly Disney movies. Like Disney always seems to get that.
I think it was before they had like best animated picture.
Well, I'm not talking about like Oscars.
Oh
but
yeah,
like,
but it probably
there's other circuits that give out awards and animation ones and stuff like that.
I forgot his name. The guy that he worked on Simpsons. He was an animation guru. He does Pixar work now.
Yeah, it's something Bird.
Brad Bird.
Yeah,
Brad Bird. He directed that movie.
He did The Incredibles.
And he also did the new Mission Impossible.
Yeah, that's what he did. Mm-hmm. But no, that one is like, 'cause I don't think I saw that movie since it came out. One of those many ones where you barely remember. You're like, I remember a giant robot in it. Mm-hmm. Being like
Remember the kid's name was Holgar.
Holgarth. Yeah, it's a really fucking weird name.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, there's another kid named Garth.
Based on a book, so yeah, it's probably...
Yeah, it's based on a book, which makes me wonder, was that book like a regular book, or was it like kind of like a kid's book?
I know the book was called The Giant Metal Man or something like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't called The Iron Giant, but yeah. No, that was actually... I remember that being a good movie, and...
No, yeah, it's pretty darn
It kind of made me... It kind of felt kind of like... I mean, it wasn't like saying, like, you can't show this to a kid, but anytime there was like a... for me, it was one of those things... Anytime you had like an animated movie that had just a little bit of swearing and dealt with stuff dealt with like government stuff.
Yeah.
Like, this is so mature, you know?
Well, yeah, because it had a bit of swearing, and then like it was just kind of like that thing of like it was about the Cold War. It's like, oh, the Soviets sent this over. God damn it, gotta kill it. Gotta kill this boy's friend.
Yeah, and we find out the robot was actually evil at first, then it goes good again or whatever.
Now, did they ever explain where that robot actually came from?
Just from some other planet. It was
They
don't explain. I think it was the robot came to destroy, but what happened is he had the dent. He hit his head, so he couldn't remember.
He's like Goku.
Yeah. But then, like, when the dent pops open, then it remembers.
Yeah, it remembers, and then the kid's able to, like, change his mind.
Yeah. He's like, Superman. I remember that, and then flying away, yeah.
Well, that's when, like, when you're a kid, you don't really put two and two together, like, oh, Warner Brothers, Superman, makes all sense.
Yeah.
But, no, that was a really good one. And then you just kind of see, like, it's like the evil, like, military people. Even though the military guys are actually good ones, it's just that one douchebag, like...
Shooter McGavin.
Yeah. Who comes in and is like, I'm gonna live in this boy's house to watch him. There's just that part where like he sits like in like the other room just like looking at him.
The kid's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Arms crossed, trying to stay awake, yeah.
But no, that was a pretty good one.
And I want to say it wasn't like maybe that's where like Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston met, but that was
Jennifer Aniston was the mom.
Brad Pitt was was not the dad, but like the guy that was kind of like, I'm going to be kind of like...
I don't think Brad Pitt was in that one. I didn't see his name in the credits.
Oh, I thought maybe that was Brad Pitt that was like... Because I'm remembering the voice, things he said. I'm remembering Brad Pitt's voice for some reason. The metal welder or whatever.
Oh, the beatnik guy?
Yeah, I was assuming that was Brad Pitt. Maybe it wasn't.
I don't think so. Because his name wasn't in the credits.
Oh, okay. Maybe not him then. But no, that's a good movie, though.
But yeah, I like that one a lot. It's like, yeah, something I haven't seen in a while.
Was Robert Loggia the old, like, general? Was it Robert Loggia? It was some old actor.
Yeah, there was. Mm-hmm. Even though I just watched it.
Someone probably like, not Robert Loggia, someone like Robert Loggia.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Like good in the 90s time period. Even, like you got your award-winning movies, your movies that don't make any sense, and then your cat dogs.
Yeah. Movies that made a fuck ton of money, and then the one that did not make a lot of money, but we remember it now.
Yeah.
It all worked out for Brad Bird in the end anyway.
Well, yeah. Well, as I said, it's like the Iron Giant, like, I remember it was a big deal when that movie came out. Like, they talked so big about it. But nowadays, it's just one of those movies like, I feel like you could ask people, unless they saw it back then, it's like, I don't know if they'd remember it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like and once again, when movies aren't Disney, they seem to kind of get forgotten easier.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know why that always is. Except for the 20th Century Fox ones always seem to get remembered. But I think it's because people think they're Disney movies, and that's why they're always remembered.
I think that's what a lot of CG movies come out now. They're just like, maybe we could trick them into thinking it's DreamWorks or Pixar. Then
well, because like it's like a lot of people always think that like Anastasia and stuff like that was a Disney movie.
That was 20th Century Fox.
You know.
I haven't seen that since I was a kid. I don't know if I'd like it now, but...
That one's still pretty good.
It's one of those things...
I will say this, those 20th Century Fox ones are actually some of the better ones.
Tiny E was good.
Yeah, Tiny E's good.
We're going like traditional 2D...
Ferngully.
Traditional 2D animate, we should say, because Ice Age and the other shit is 20th Century Fox also.
Which ones?
Ice Age and...
well, yeah.
Well, we're just going to stick traditional, like...
Yeah, like they're like good 90s run they had.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember Anastasia... I mean, I remember the story being cool, but at the same time, it was like... It was almost kind of like, it wasn't this, but it was like Disney princess singing kind of setup.
There was kind of like some singing.
But this going over the whole story of Anastasia, then adding witchcraft to it, that sounds kind of interesting.
Well, the one they do is because like they make Rasputin like he's like, I am evil. Blah!
They make the Tsar look like, hey, I'm a good guy, man. Why the fuck you invaded? Like like Rasputin put like a curse over the people. It's like, no, the Tsar tried to invade Germany. That shit didn't work out.
Yeah, that's the one thing is like when you do watch, you kind of go like,
The Tsar was actually a prick, and I remember watching the movie in one of my history classes. The teacher saying, "Here, let me give you an idea of what happened." He put on fucking Anastasia. That part. It's just now, granted, the bat didn't really talk, and Rasputin couldn't fall to pieces, but you get an idea, right?
Remember that the only thing about Anastasia, the bat's like so annoying is like. And he's like, I got a voice like this. My name is Bartok.
I'm well, even movies were trying to be like Disney.
He's like, oh, don't you know? Oh, look at me. I'm a bat. Why am I doing in Russia?
Every one of those, like, they always kind of had they always have like the Disney format, because there's always like there might be the silly like creature that can talk. It shouldn't talk, but it can talk. Then there might be the pet that doesn't talk, but it has a lot of personality.
Yeah.
Then the bad guy has one, and sometimes they switch off and trade around, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like fucking, what was it? Like fucking Pocahontas. How there's
the coon.
The raccoon, and then there's the fucking, like, the bird or whatever. And then the bad guy had the guy had the dog. So it always is this kind of standard, like, Disney format they can use in everything.
But those Fox ones, it was a good run for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they did after Titan AE. That was like, I think that was like the end of their animation run. Or
I believe it was. I think they're trying,
because then Ice Age and stuff like that, where people just got obsessed with nuts and.
I like what Kyle's been on the podcast for. I like what he said. Like, he wants, because usually when people tell me their tattoo ideas, I'm like, I don't give a shit.
You're like, gay.
He said one that was actually pretty funny. He said, like, I want to have one, and I wouldn't get this, but I give him credit. I want him to do it. He says he wants to get.
I don't think he would ever get it either.
He's saying he wants to do it. He might do it one day.
I think that's just.
We get him drunk enough, he might.
That's like an idea.
He might, like. Plus, I don't know if his girlfriend's gonna let him, but he wants to have, like, Scrat from Ice Age on his the squirrel on his inner thigh, reaching up.
Grabbing the nuts. Those days of animation.
Yeah, them days.
Probably a good place to leave off at. Make sure to check out oldmanorange.com. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com.
We'll read it on the air.
Yeah, make sure to, to share the podcast, download it, subscribe. All that stuff really helps out.
We're on Facebook.
Yeah, you go to the Facebook page. Go to our main page, too, or our Podomatic page, and then if you're going to buy anything off Amazon, click on the Amazon link, or there's actually a GameStop link. Click on that. Doesn't cost you anything, but if you go through that link, it gives us a little bit of a kickback. So, yeah, till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we will see you some other time.